Welcome to Wheels Boy, and welcome to an undisclosed location here in Beijing where we're going to get yet another exclusive first glimpse at a cool Chinese car. This time it's the Z9 GT, a sexy electric wagon from BYD, one of China's largest automakers, and their high-end brand, Denza. This thing, allegedly, has a three-motor system making 710 kilowatts, or about 960 horsepower. Today, we're going to get an exclusive first look at its exterior styling. Welcome to Wheels Boy, where we cover the newest, coolest, and wildest vehicles from the Chinese car market. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Denza began life as a 50-50 joint venture between BYD and Mercedes-Benz, but the Germans have since lowered their stake to just 10%. If you want to learn more about that background story, I suggest you check out our review of the Denza X. The Z9 GT, however, is part of the latest generation of Denza models, which includes the N7 and N8 SUVs, as well as the D9 MPV. We've also reviewed most of those, so be sure to check that out. The front fascia you see here is the one that will appear on the pure electric version of this car, but there will be a slightly tweaked version for the hybrid that's also going to be available. No word yet whether that's going to be a normal PHEV or an extended range EV. What we do know right now is this pure electric version will have a three-motor system. That's one in the front, two in the rear, as part of its E3 powertrain. Now, E3 refers obviously to the three motors, as opposed to the E4 powertrain, which is the four-motor system found in the Yangwang U8 and U9. We've got reviews of those cars too, so again, check that out. In this application, they are going to make a total of 710 kilowatts, or around 960 horsepower. Expect a 0 to 100 kilometer per hour or 0 to 62 mile per hour time of around 3 seconds. The Z9 GT carries over a bit of the pie design language we saw on the N7 SUV, particularly down here in the shape of this bumper, but it's definitely a much more sporty look. Notice how the elongated headlights follow the contours of the body. It's also the long sloping hood. All of this draws your eyes right here to the center of the design. At the center of the front fascia is a redesigned badge for the Denza brand. As opposed to the old, almost flat blue and silver badge, this one is much more deeply sculpted. The background blue is also no longer kind of a plain blue, but rather a deep, rich, almost sapphire-like blue. This badge will light up, but not this background, actually just the outline of the badge itself, this wing shape here in the middle. A much more subtle design than a fully lit up badge, I think. The Z9 GT will feature two LiDAR units, but as opposed to other brands who put their LiDAR units front and center on their front fascias, the LiDAR units on the Z9 GT are actually tucked pretty far into the front fascia. This has two advantages, arguably. The first is that it's much more low-key, and I honestly think some buyers are going to be pretty happy not having such obvious, glaring plastic squares on the front of their car. The other advantage is a little bit more practical. By putting them farther into the front fascia, you're putting them, well, in less danger. In the event of a low-speed collision, they're less likely to be destroyed, and while the prices for LiDAR units are going down, they're still not very cheap. The same is true for this black rectangle right here, which contains the millimeter wave radar. The Z9 GT measures 5.18 meters in length and has a wheelbase of 3.125 meters. Both of those numbers are slightly longer than that of a Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo. The dominant design element here on the side is undoubtedly this black plastic piece that runs almost the entire length of the vehicle. According to the designers behind this car, it's supposed to create a sense of modularity, as if this car was made up of two different pieces that were stuck together like this, a very techy feeling. It also has the added benefit allowing them to hide the side view mirror right here. Again, it seems like Denza's goal with this design was to hide its technology, to make it subtle as opposed to highlighting it. From this angle, you can see that these very svelte rear view mirrors are accomplishable because this is a video camera-based rear view mirror system, not a traditional mirror. Don't worry, there is going to be a more traditional mirror system available for those who prefer that flavor. I personally am one of those people. These are not very easy to use in my experience. The Z9 GT has some beefy rear fenders that give it a very muscular and wide appearance, but it's the construction of this fender that I find most interesting. You see, from the tip of the tail here, all the way down and up into the roof in this panel are all one single piece of the body, all one stamping, all the way down to the base of the A-pillar. The designers did tell me that when they gave this proposal to the engineers that actually had to produce the car, they were less than happy. It's already difficult enough to accomplish complex curves like this into a stamping, but to make it all one piece had to have been even more difficult. I imagine it kept them awake over the last few years while they tried to produce this car, but they did manage to do it. The Denza designers told me that they weren't courting controversy when it came to the exterior styling of this car, and I believed them, right up until I saw that rear end design. This is definitely going to be the love it or hate it portion of the Z9 GT's exterior styling. The goal, they tell me, was to create something that was unique and identifiable from a very long distance, what they call as an icon in designer parlance. Whether you love it or you hate it, you have to admit, they were successful in that mission. The Z9 GT has a two-tiered wing system. You can obviously see the top one here, which is mostly for aerodynamics to lower drag, but this is hiding a electrically deployable spoiler right there. That obviously is supposed to create more downforce at high speeds. Not that high of speeds. We do know that this thing's top speed is about 240 kilometers per hour, only about 150 miles per hour. We're not going to be able to get a chance to look at the interior of the Z9 GT. It's completely blacked out, all of the windows. They'll release that styling later this year, as well as pricing. Now, we're guessing, based on the fact that this is the flagship sedan / wagon for the Denza brand, that it's going to come in at about 50 to 70,000 US dollars, or the equivalent price in Chinese RMB, here into the Chinese market. We will learn more when this car reaches the market at the end of this year, but you're only going to learn all of that if you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can see our test drive video that will be coming later this year.